Camilla, Aurora, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into food, farming and wellness, and also how you got to meet each other?
Perfect. So thank you, first of all, for having us. It's a real honor and pleasure, and we've followed your work and have loved what you guys have been sharing for many years. So it's a real honor and pleasure. Farmacy was founded in 2016, many moons ago, to a very green audience back then. It was really created as an antidote to soulless food. Mm-hmm. The business is very much a counterculture business. 2016, there was no such thing as a organic, plant-based, farm-to-table genre in food at the time. I think in the US, I'd spent quite a bit of time in the US. There was a lot of influence from some of my favorite places like Cafe Gratitude in LA. And, you know, they had kind of coined the term, kind of healthy living and plant-based food. So I was heavily inspired by what they were doing and realized that there was a real gap in the market in London. So that's really the journey of how Farmacy began. And also, you know, Farmacy's underpinning values are around health of the planet, human health, and what food does. Food is the whole entire, for me, the foundation of health. Mm-hmm. So that notion in general really, brings us to why we've decided to write a book with Aurora here, and why we have decided to turn Farmacy much more into an education platform, because there's also a huge gap in knowledge around nutrition, food, farming, agriculture, and how soil health, ecology affects human beings.
Yeah. So for the listeners, can you just break down kind of what the key message is within the book? Like, what are the key takeaways that you want people to take from it?
So the book, we spend almost half the book talking about soil.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as Camilla was saying, if food is the foundation of health, soil is the foundation of food.
Yeah.
99% of humanity's food comes from the soil. A tiny bit comes from the sea, but the vast majority comes from the soil. And that means that we've recruited 44% of all habitable land for agriculture. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a big global population. We're eating a lot. So it means that agriculture is absolutely essential to our own health, but it also means that if we're doing poisonous agriculture, there's no way that the planet, that Gaia, can be thriving. So that's one of the main things that we center in the manifesto. We're talking about health, we're talking about food, and all of that comes down to the soil. Yeah. So we start unpacking what a thrilling thing soil actually is. You know, this dark matter. Kind of looks like dirt, but it's really the most valuable substance on Earth. And it's the vastest ecosystem on Earth. You know, it's not just like a medium that you can sort of put chemicals into and then extract things. Like it's a thriving association of a bunch of different species. In fact, almost half of the species on Earth are soil species. Wow. So when we talk about biodiversity, that's it. It's also it's a biological structure, a bit like a coral reef or a beehive, you know, so it's something that an animal makes and then inhabits. Mm-hmm. The soil is that as well. So if you take the life out of the soil, it's not there anymore. Then it does become dirt or dust. So that's what we take a look at in the book, this kind of fascinating, intricate, highly structured, highly capable substrate that is the substrate of our lives. That's one of the central things.
Love that.
And can you explain what is happening to the soil on the planet right now?
So a bunch of things are happening to soil.
And a bunch of things are not happening to soil.
Exactly. Things that should be happening aren't. And this is, it's a problem that has accelerated in modernity, but it's also been something that all civilizations have wrestled with. All agricultural civilizations, they invent the plow, they start cutting down trees, and then they find that, whoops, their soil is getting washed into the sea. And that's the same thing that's happening for us. So we're losing an incredible quantity, tens of thousands of tons of soil every year are getting washed into the ocean. So that means that those inches that we have to feed ourselves from keep getting thinner and thinner. We're also losing agricultural land mass. So there's certain lands that have been so depleted that we actually have to move away from them. We can't do agriculture there anymore. So we keep kind of moving into lands, exploiting them for agriculture, and then moving away and leaving wastelands in the wake of agriculture. And in the lands that we still do farm, which is a huge chunk of land, what's happening is that the soil is becoming dead. So in effect, this species-rich material, which is what soil wants to be and what the kind of soil that feeds us, it's becoming less and less biodiverse, more and more flat. And this is the reason why our health is suffering. And it makes us massive forces in the terraforming of Earth. At this moment, we're not a positive force. We're destroying something that it's taken the planet a few billion years to acquire. But the really promising thing, and the reason why I think both Camilla and I are so excited about food and agriculture, is that right now agriculture is this destructive process, but the same thing that right now does so much damage, if we did it right, it could be the source of so much good. So it's not like war, let's say, that it's just a matter of turning it off. No, agriculture right now, it's highly destructive, but it could become one of the greatest gifts to our families, but also to the legacy that we leave to the future.
So what does that look like the future of food, if you were to do it your way?
I guess I could also add on a little bit onto, what's happening to our soil right now. And I think one of the main focuses on what Farmacy is doing is bringing awareness to our customers and our community about chemicals and pesticides and what we have been doing to the soil for, only 60 or 70 years. So that's where I always see a positive in terms of, because we have only been spraying our soils with these, industrial chemicals for such a short time, there is a way to turn back. There is a wonderful book called Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. And, please go and read this, or whoever's listening, please go and get this, because she was the real purveyor at the time of when the world wars had finished, of saying, she was the kind of the rebel at the time, saying, basically calling out all these, war industries for, using these incredibly destructive chemicals from the wartime into our soils. So again, this is a short time in our, human existence that we have the power to turn this back. It's only one generation that we have been literally destroying our soils. So yes, I do feel like these small grassroots movements like Farmacy, but there are farms and, real, I suppose, there are communities now that are aware of what's happening to our food system. And our food system is just our soils, right? Like what's happening. So I feel that there's a huge rise in taking our sovereignty back and taking our power back from these, industrial industries that have been literally destroying us for X amount of years. So yeah, I feel very, very positive about this movement because it's growing and it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice that you've just said that, because so much of what I hear is fear mongering when it comes to the future of our planet, our health. But the fact that you've just summed it up in that way and said, because I've never actually considered it in that way, that it's actually such a short amount of time, really, in the history of human evolution. But that really gives us hope. So thank you for saying it like that,
I think one of the most important things that we have written in the book and we speak about daily is hope. I think we are, every single moment of every, millisecond of our lives, we are, fear-mongered with news or whatever it might be. The kind of mainstream narrative is, is it climate collapse? Is it, war? Is it, all the same narratives that mainstream news has been playing at us since the 80s, since the 70s. If you just look at, if it's not nuclear destruction, if it's not, it's a constant barrage of how to keep the human mind in fear. And I think this is what we want to do. And this is what we've done is, there's another timeline, there's another way possible. And that is through your community. That's through human sovereignty, human freedom. And, if you focus on that, the world is full of hope.
And coming back to your question of what agriculture could look like and building on what Camilla was saying. So since we invented synthetic fertilizer and these synthetic pesticides, herbicides, biocides, what we've been doing is just putting loads of these chemicals onto the land every year. And each of them is destructive in a different way. Right. All the sides, it's the same ending as you get in homicide. It means it kills something. So it kills a lot of things usually. And so by
I hadn't heard that. That's actually a really interesting
scary, isn't it?
To kill.
So all of these biocides, so they're life killers, and this is what we've been dosing most of the face of the earth with for about 100 years now. And then synthetic fertilizer is interesting. It provides nitrogen, which is something that plants need a lot of to grow, but it does it in a way that it's a bit like giving plants steroids, so they will grow very quickly, but they won't grow strongly. And because it makes the plants lazy, essentially. So they don't have to develop the relationships with the fungi and the soil bacteria. So the plants get a little bit lazy. The rest of the life in the soil never develops. So over time, over 100 years of this, it means that the soil is just not what it could be. And both of these things that we've been dumping into the soil come from a chemical paradigm of thinking that, the soil is basically a medium. It could be something else. We could grow it indoors. We could grow it in a sack of water. We're just going to give it the nutrients, and then we're going to spray everything else out of the perimeter. And this is the trouble. So what the future of food could look like is, instead of coming in with a chemical paradigm, coming in with a ecological paradigm, and recognizing that the vitality of life, of every aspect of life on this planet, including our own health, comes from relationships between living things. So the brilliant farmers that we work with, that we admire, that we love to platform, they are geniuses of a sort that have figured out how to harness these relationships between all the different layers of life, between animals, plants, microbes, fungi, bring them together to create really healthy ecosystems that can produce really nutrient-dense food.
And what effect are these biocides and pesticides having on our health?
Camilla's favorite topic, actually.
In every sense of the word, it's destroying human health, from mental health to your spiritual health, to, of course, your physical health. So on every angle, these pesticides are degrading each year, getting worse and worse as we are facing, probably the worst chronic disease pandemic that we've ever seen on the face of the earth. So we can safely say that we've never been so sick as a humanity ever possible. We talk about the technological advancements that are going, up and up and up. And then we're talking about human health getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah. So, it's kind of, choose your evil, So it's incredibly worrying. Obviously, if you have children on top of it, children and the next generation are always the underpinning of my force and my want to do something different and want to make changes in these systems, because how we're going to leave the planet to the next generation is incredibly important to me, and why Farmacy exists, so we can create a safe haven for children to understand a better future, a healthier future, because it's pretty bleak, and I think, again, this is not we like to say, this is not a hippie movement. Organic food has been talked about for, however many years, but ultimately this is a survival movement. And this is so important. This is not, a kind of niche thing that only the wealthy can get their hands on. This should be a human right. And we want to be able to get all forms of, social understandings, access to this food. This is so critical, because we have seen, you've had the wonderful Zach Bush on your podcast, who we love, we adore him. He speaks so well to the crisis around all of this, the food systems and all of that. So it is also a spiritual crisis. And I think that's, very powerful. Rudolf Steiner has talked about that. We work in a biodynamic farming way. And I think that has given us a great window into how spiritual health and having that connection to, whatever you want to call it, the greater good, is also completely dumbed down by those chemicals and pesticides that are actually, closing off human consciousness. So I think that's a really interesting concept that we often talk around biodynamics. And yes, it's affecting all aspects of human health.
Yeah, I think you said something in the book, and it was that the food crisis and the health crisis are one and the same.
Yes.
And it's a crisis of nourishment is what we are experiencing. And I think that really kind of explained it really well. So can you just, for anyone that's listening who's not sure what biodynamic means, or, the difference between conventional industrial farming and regenerative, can you just break down the difference just to make it clear for them?
You go.
Sure. So just to give a bit of go back to the historical context. So we invented synthetic fertilizer in 1908. It became an industrial process in 1911. And immediately people went wild with this and started applying it on farm fields all over. About 10 years later, within a decade, farmers were already starting to notice that systems were breaking down, that the ecology wasn't working the same, the plants weren't working the same. So they approached a gentleman called Rudolf Steiner, who's known for many other things as well. He's the founder of the Waldorf schools. He's the founder of the anthroposophical movement. So he was known as a kind of a genius of a sort, a polymath who worked across fields. And these farmers came to him in the last year of his life and said, "Can you help us? Something's wrong with our farms." So he went into research of various kinds, and then he gave a series of lectures that gave birth to biodynamics. So biodynamics is the first form of modern organic agriculture, the first response to the advent of chemical agriculture.
Of course, because before that it would have all been organic.
Exactly. Exactly. So everything had always been
pre-organic.
Yeah,
exactly. Is what biodynamics is.
So exactly. So Rudolf Steiner was this first response, and what he did was actually he collected a lot of the folk practices that the German people had always used. So a lot of the kind of magic that's associated with biodynamics, you take this, you mix it with the other thing, you stir it under a full moon, you bury it, it comes out 6 months later. There's a science to it, absolutely, in terms of the chemical components and how things line up with the astral bodies. But there's a very folksy element as well, because he didn't necessarily invent all of these practices. A lot of them it was the knowledge of the land that the farmers had, and he brought it together and helped bring it into the 20th century.
What some people would call chemistry now, but then our ancestors would call alchemy. It was what pure alchemy was.
Just a quick pause to talk about something we don't speak about enough: hormones.
Because for most of us, it's not that our bodies are broken, it's that our hormones can fluctuate. And when that happens, everything feels harder. From sleep, energy, mood, digestion, all of it.
That's exactly why we both use Happy Mammoth. It's one of the few wellness brands we truly trust when it comes to hormone health. Everything they make is evidence-based and designed specifically for women's bodies.
I've been taking Estro Control, which helps to support healthy estrogen metabolism and bring your cycle back into balance. I honestly can't believe the difference, and it's the first time I've felt more comfortable and balanced during my cycle in years. No mood swings, no bloating, no heaviness. It just felt normal, which is huge.
And I take Hormone Harmony, which helps to support healthy cortisol levels, steady energy and overall well-being. It's helped me feel more rested, focused and emotionally steady throughout the month.
What we both love about Happy Mammoth is that they're not trying to fix you. They're helping your body work the way it's meant to.
It's been such a game changer for both of us. If your hormones have been feeling all over the place, then this is your sign to start supporting them properly.
You can find both Estro Control and Hormone Harmony at happymammoth.com, and you'll get 15% off your first order with the code RAISE at checkout.
And it's quite interesting that even nowadays, biodynamic has an interesting aura around it, right? So some people think it's hocus pocus, but then if you go to an industry like wine, where people really value flavor and really value quality, the best wines are biodynamic. Or if you go to really fine dining restaurants, like the chefs are tripping over themselves to get their hands on biodynamic vegetables. So in contexts where quality matters, this is
Surely
known.
That has the same effect. Well, as we know, it has the same effect on food, but it's funny that there's
Absolutely.
people haven't associated it in the same way.
Most people have known about the biodynamic farming practices through wine. That was the kind of that was the kind of bubble that burst for biodynamics to then come through. And
what's quite interesting is that flavor and color line up with nutrient density.
Yes.
So it's not accidental, right? The only reason our ancestors in the savannah in our deep evolutionary history survived is because nature equipped them with these highly sophisticated biosensors, nose, mouth, our sense of taste, our sense of smell, that orients us to what's good. Right. So what feels good for us, we'll feel attracted to. And that's nature's way of ensuring that our ancestors got the nutrition that they needed through their long wanderings across the continent. So we're still equipped with this, right? Maybe it's a bit dulled. There's some evidence that we don't have as much sense of smell as our ancestors, but we've still got some of it, and we can certainly activate more of it. So when you have foods that look luscious, their colors are popping out, they taste delicious right off the plant, that's nature telling you, it's your body telling you this is nutritious. So there's a really strong correlation between these two. So going back just to the history or the various kinds of agriculture. So biodynamic was the first form of organic agriculture, born in Germany. And since then, there have been other schools that have developed organic agriculture as a label, gained a lot of traction in the United States with, various pioneers. The Rodali Institute is a really important one. They ran side-by-side trials to over 40 years in running now, measuring like the performance of organic versus chemical plots and the nutrient capacity. So their work is fantastic. And then other movements have also sprung up around the world in the what we call the global south, let's say. There's been a movement towards agroecology, which I think is very aptly named because it's got the ecology in there, right? And this is a movement that combines not just the farming practices, but also the conviction of it, as we were saying earlier, that food is a human right, and that people should have the right to determine what they want to eat, to grow their food themselves if that's what they want to do, because this right has been taken away from a lot of developing countries like Mexico, like India, like Colombia, many, many countries. It's a way for that power has been taken, let's say, from the bottom billions. So then there's also agroforestry, which is a kind of permanent agriculture. So the big industrial chemical agriculture, it's always these annual plantations, right? You plant the corn or you plant the wheat over vast expanses, you harvest it, and then you're repeating this again year after year, and that can exhaust the soil, especially if you don't have a rotation. So the permaculture, let's say, if you want a permanent agriculture, that's a tree agriculture. And so there's a bunch of brilliant people who have developed ways of integrating different kinds of tree crops, nuts and fruit with things that can grow in their shade or vines that can wrap up, and so you're using various levels of the canopy of the forest. And then there's permaculture, which is a design. It combines agricultural science and design practice to help people create very clever farms. And that was born in Australia also a few decades ago. So these are different sort of schools that are all part of this movement towards creating an actually viable future of food.
With not allowing any chemical inputs.
Yeah.
So regenerative farming is obviously something that we'll talk about, but which is something you didn't mention, but that has a lot of gray areas still.
Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, and I think it's something that we've been working heavily on with our, various farming partners. And, look, regenerative has unfortunately been hijacked. The word, the terminology, I'm not sure if you read, but McDonald's have pledged over $200 million into, turning their farms into regenerative.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. Okay. So, is this a buzzword, another buzzword that means absolutely nothing? Are there still, is the regenerative movement still going to allow?
Yeah.
Exactly. Is the regenerative movement still going to allow chemical inputs? Glyphosate.
This is a scary thing though, isn't it? Because I just don't trust even supermarkets anymore. It's so sad. And it's like, because there's so many loopholes. And now, especially with what's come up recently about Bill Gates putting his appeal and it's still allowed on organic food, is just absolute insanity to me. So who do we trust? Obviously you guys, but
grow your own.
I know, but for some that's not possible.
Absolutely.
And it's really scary, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, look, all you need is an acre. And if that is, sharing that with your community and your friends, and, we're so blessed to have such green pastures in the UK. And I think, again, we're not utilizing that space for, growing food for communities. And yes, there are plenty of opportunities that communities can get together to do that. But again, there's a huge gap in knowledge, and that's kind of been erased. How to grow your own food, how to cook your own food. The convenience culture has obviously, overtaken our generation, and now we are completely lost and, blindsided in what real food tastes like. It's just, we are now reliant on supermarkets. So again, I'm very positive to, to kind of change that, and empower, people, friends, neighbors, families to, get a plot together. What does that look like? I think that looks like people coming together to understand that this is possible, and you have to want to do that. But again, there's, we're doing as much education as possible through books, through the restaurant and everything else to try and get people excited about growing food again.
So when you talk about Farmacy as an education platform, what do you see for the vision? So
look, since we've opened, we have always educated the chefs and our team. So, we realized, again, in hospitality, there's a huge misunderstanding. There's a huge lack of understanding around soil health and how food is grown.
Yeah.
So if you think that chefs don't understand that, the people closest to, making your food, their whole careers are around food, their whole lives around food. But the one thing they are not taught is how to grow food and what impact that has exactly as Aurora was saying, on taste, flavor, nutrient density, and, all the most exciting and wonderful things about food are those things. So we realized that, chefs were coming to us specifically at the beginning, not having a clue about this. So we were just organically taking them down to our market garden, which is an acre, actually where I live. So we started that, right when we opened the restaurant. And we were bringing the chefs down weekly. And then it kind of expanded to, there was so much interest around the training that it then expanded to front of house. We had KPs, which are like, your pot washers coming down, understanding. So we had everyone in the whole ecosystem, the pharmacy ecosystem, that knew just the basics around soil health. And it was of huge interest to, people that were obviously working with us, and that continued. So we'd had weekly programs for the chefs to come down and understand and, pick their own food, harvest their own food, cutting their own rocket, it's just the most exciting thing. So that's really how it transformed into us actually wanting to educate more of the industry and really work with chefs and specifically hospitality around just understanding these basics, which is so important. We like to say that chefs are the gospel of the soil. So they are really the ones that can sing this gospel for us. They're the ones that can do the work. And that then trickles down into, the customers and then, everyone else that can enjoy the food.
Amazing. So can you tell us more about your farm? Like what you're growing, kind of, are you selling produce from your farm?
We are.
Can we...
Yes, you can buy it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can buy it. Absolutely.
Amazing.
We had a veg box scheme about a year ago, but we've stopped that now because we've actually expanded our kind of farming institution. So we have a small plot, about 13 acres in Forest Row, which has been about a year now. It's been about a year that we've started to plough the fields, and we've already started growing food. So it was already converted Demeter, which is the biodynamic certification. So when we started, it was basically ready to grow within our standards already. So it's been, about a year of growing food. We're super excited. We've had already some events there. We've had, some industry people come and see what we're doing. We built a glass house as well to host events and educational programs. So hopefully with you guys, we'll be doing our supper club and event in December. So it will be a real lighthouse for the future of food. So we're super excited about that.
Amazing.
So exciting. And you actually home educate your children, don't you? So I'm sure they're involved a lot on the farm. What made you decide to make that decision?
I guess 2020 we were hit with the dystopian Orwellian madness that we're still in. I think schools were going through obviously a very difficult time. My teenager, who's now 16, found it very difficult to be in school at that time specifically. I've actually always wanted to home educate. My mother's always wanted to home educate us. So I think there's been maybe a lifelong want to do that. So I think I used COVID as that moment to home educate, and I wouldn't look back. So yeah, it's been wonderful. I think just giving them this much more full spectrum understanding of what life can be instead of just sitting in a classroom has been exponential for their growth.
100%.
So you spoke about, I'm just going to go back to the book, and you spoke about the hidden costs of our current food system showing up in the healthcare system. Can you just break down what you meant by that?
Yeah, there's amazing work done here in the UK by the Sustainable Food Trust. So they've brought together a lot of research that shows exactly that our food costs twice as much as we think it's costing if you factor in what are usually called externalities, right? So if you factor in the fact that the river is ruined, if you factor in the fact that you can't drink the local water anymore, if you factor in the fact that the air isn't good to breathe anymore, if you factor in all the health costs that implies, that right now it doesn't look like the price of food, it looks like the cost of running the NHS. But if you factored that into the price of producing food in this toxic way, you'd be paying at least twice as much for every bit of food. So that's part of what we're up against in expanding this organic, or let's say nature-friendly farming movement, which is that sometimes the organic food looks expensive next to the conventional food. And that's because the conventional food is hiding, it's not paying for all the damage that it's doing, right? So this is it's a regulatory challenge, let's say. It's about creating a social contract where we, decide to take responsibility for things instead of trying to shunt everything into the dark corners where we don't have to think about them. But that's what we mean when we talk about the hidden cost of food.
And this two-tiered system, right, which is conventional, which I cannot stand the word. It's not conventional. There's nothing conventional about the way that, conventional farming is, portrayed to us. We should call it chemical farming.
Yeah.
Or toxic farming.
Toxic farming, there are so many hidden costs to what we call conventional. And I think that's, again, this kind of, it's like double speak.
100%. I said recently on a podcast that I was on that if people could see the pesticides, if they were a colour, they wouldn't eat them. And yet because they're not labelled on the packaging when you buy, but it's labelled that it's organic, whether it's conventional or it's not,
there's so much that's invisible in the food system, and there are powers that benefit from that opacity, right? And you don't know oftentimes where your food came from, what kind of farm it came from. Oftentimes you don't even know what country it came from. You don't even know if it's GMO anymore, right? Because they're not required to label that. So all of the decision-making power, people are trying to take away that democratic decision-making power by obfuscating things and making it unclear what you're getting and why it matters and where it's coming from. So that's part of what we need to do, actually, like reintroduce transparency into the food supply. Some of our supply chains are so long, they wrap around the globe. So one really simple, straightforward way to do this is literally to get to know your farmer. If you can grow food yourself, wonderful, fantastic. As Camilla was saying, everyone's got a windowsill. There are many allotments available in the UK. Some people have backyards.
Don't you find it crazy that people have gardens, but yet they're gardens for aesthetic purposes?
Lawns.
Lawns.
Exactly. The most pointless thing,
you don't even use. When you fly above the UK and you just see gardens, it's like, what is this for? It's crazy.
It's horrific. Every time I pass a garden, I think, right, that could be a veg patch. That could be a veg patch.
So true.
Why is there, this kind of obsession with this pristine lawn? It's this part of this
that you then
brainwashing
chemicals on
you're
as well.
Spraying your glyphosate on, this weed killer. So it's again, this complete entire unlearning that we have to do, you know.
As I've started approaching my 40s, I've noticed a few things shifting. My metabolism slowed down, my skin and hair need more support, and that morning energy I used to have in my 30s just isn't the same.
And the more I've learned about it, the more I've realised it's not just about anti-aging. It's about supporting your body's natural processes every day so you actually feel your best long term.
Exactly. That's what led me to V14, and it's become my daily longevity ritual. It's basically 2 products in one. You get your full daily stack of essential vitamins and minerals for energy and focus, plus 14 science-backed longevity nutrients like NMN, resveratrol, quercetin and fisetin to support healthy aging from the inside out.
It's such an easy addition, especially when I need something quick in the morning. I just mix it into my morning smoothie. It tastes great, it's all natural, and every batch is third-party tested so you know it's clean and pure.
I actually just love drinking it in water too. It tastes great, and honestly, I've really noticed a difference. Steady energy, better focus, and also I've noticed my recovery from the gym is better too.
I agree with that, and because longevity isn't just about looking younger, it's about feeling stronger and performing better every day.
And the good news is you can try V14 with 20% off just for Raise listeners.
Just head to v14.com and use the code RAISE at checkout.
It's the one daily habit your future self will thank you for.
I think we're just so disconnected, aren't we? And I think we grew up on everything being in packets and it becoming convenient, and then
it was like trendy. My mum always says it was because it was sold as trendy then. Yeah. So it was like, it was trendy to have these microwave meals and everything.
Yeah. So we kind of grew up in this new age of disconnected eating. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting when you talk about the invisible side of food that we don't think about, and it's like even spraying, like if you could see the colour of the sprays. But I think in the book you say once it leaves the farm, it's like this second industrial process that it goes through, and it's the wrapping and the packing and the spraying again after it's even left the farm. And it's like if we actually thought about that when you looked at your food.
And the sad thing is that people are buying this food genuinely thinking that they're buying healthy food for themselves and their families. And that's what I think is heartbreaking. And that's what makes me so angry, because it's coming, the problem is coming from the top. And obviously there's lack of education, which is what you guys are doing so amazingly. But it just breaks my heart that people have such good intentions and they're just sold this lie.
It's a travesty.
You know?
It's a travesty, totally. But I think, while we guys love what you're saying and all the narrative that you've brought to the public awareness is around biohacking. And I think this biohacking movement again has completely disconnected people from the source of health. And that's why I'm like, we were so excited to obviously meet you guys and talk about this, because health and where your food comes from, that is the biohack.
But I even said
that
my brother pulled me up on a clip that came up about a podcast that I was on, and in it I said that you don't have to have, it's not really expensive to be a biohacker or these things, and he was like, well, that's absolute BS, because these panels and everything. And I was like, if you actually listen to the episode, I say that the best biohacks are the free ones. So it's the earth, it's the sunlight, it's the breath work, it's the hydration, all these things. So as much as there's biohacking, the fundamentals of biohacking really are the kind of the truth. And how it's finding that balance.
And how you choose to spend your money. You choose to spend your money on organic food and all the things that are incredibly important to human health. Some people would rather buy a designer handbag or an expensive iPhone. Actually, it's kind of this it's this deception almost. That's really where the money should be spent, because it's a completely
none of it will matter to you if your health declines. And that's the sad thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So that's we talk about the ultimate biohack is how you eat, because there are plenty of people out there, specifically health influencers, that are scoffing down a whole punnet of blueberries from Argentina that are like sprayed with 100 chemicals. I'm like, how are you
again,
how
it's
is that?
education.
It's education,
really hard.
but these are the health
if you think how we've all
influencers.
come on and the knowledge that we've had, we've all had vegan cafes in the past, and our views have changed massively. So
Absolutely.
it's all part of the journey and the education, because sometimes it's difficult, isn't it, to not get annoyed, but it's hard when you know more than other people, and really we're all just trying.
We're
our
all
best,
just
aren't
trying.
we?
I agree, absolutely, and we're all on a journey. And I guess this is why the importance of these moments are just constantly talking about things and sharing opinions and sharing experiences to help others on their journey.
So do you think the health crisis can be averted just by food alone?
Absolutely, yes. Like hands down, yes. Absolutely. The health crisis is linked to our soil crisis.
Yeah.
And if we were, aware enough to make those changes, and as Aurora said, the most important thing that you can do for your health and your family is to know the name of your farmer and shake the hands of your farmer. That notion alone will help the health crisis.
Yeah.
And stop spending all your time and money in supermarkets in these very toxic environments, because
even the lights in supermarkets seem designed to distort something in you.
It's true. It's true. So that's a very clear yes. It's we can do a lot with our health crisis, down to the way food is produced.
And I think most people know this, don't they? It's like we've spoken about it on a podcast before. It's like we're in such an age of information. This information is easily available, but it's about
what your algorithm's feeding you, isn't it, as well, and who you're hanging around with.
Yeah,
it's like to us, it's everywhere, isn't it?
But it's more that you can chat GPT in your pocket. Like the information is way more accessible now, but it's the actual action of doing it. 100%,
people
but that's
don't
what
want
it
to
is.
acknowledge that as well, and that's what's crazy.
Absolutely.
So I think it'd be difficult to hear something if you listen to this episode and then didn't look at the food that you were buying differently. Then that's concerning, because you've been
you
exposed
have the
to this information.
Yeah.
If you're not, and you're in a circle and you're kind of doing the same things every day, and you don't have these conversations with friends, and you're not exposed to that in your algorithm, it's difficult.
Yeah,
and
of course,
it's hard, isn't it?
But it's also cognitive dissonance. A lot of people are aware, but then don't want to make the changes because it's. Well,
I think that with COVID, it's like how there's all these reports are coming out now with what was actually in the vaccines and what the agenda was about, and yet people do not want to accept that.
Absolutely. There's a huge amount of just look in the other direction because it's more convenient, and I think there's a whole belief system that has been shaken, in global governments, in the powers that be who are making these decisions for us. I think there's a huge amount of dissonance around trust. So that's also a massive topic. I think we should have another podcast just about COVID. We'll be here all day. Exactly. Well, that really changed the face of the world, for so many people, and so many great things have come out of that. But also we are, living in this kind of very strange dystopian time that
I don't know which way it's going to go.
But now. Again, we always kind of bring it back to this, kind of very peaceful and positive notion that, we focus on our families, our communities, our neighbors, and those are the kind of things that we can change and, help. The macro side of things, the world, the global governments, the destruction, the war, it's so out of our power, and that's what gives us the anxiety and the social anxiety and all the things that were going on, because we just can't do anything about it. So we just bring it back to here and just help each other, help our communities, and that is a kind of more positive way of looking at things, because it's the world is pretty scary.
That's how
otherwise.
it used to be, because we didn't have access to phones and know what was going on in other countries. It's like you would focus on your community and yourselves, and it's kind of going back to basics, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a pretty basic book in many respects. That's what we wanted to do, exactly, not address all the ways in which you might make yourself healthy, just address the foundation, which is the food and the soil. And we wanted it to be a short book also because, like you said, there's so much information nowadays. So many channels competing for our attention. But this is a book that you can read in an hour or two in a train ride or a plane ride, or give it to someone that you love, that you'd like to see a bit healthier. And yeah, the work that you're doing, I think, it is, I think you were all making a really interesting point around cognitive dissonance, because the awakening process isn't easy necessarily. And that's true across spectra, not just with food. But, you know, like Gloria Steinem said, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. So, you know,
we've all been there.
We've all been there.
No, we've all been there.
Of course.
Yeah.
And change isn't so easy necessarily, but it's really delicious. This food revolution is delicious. You know, get coming back into contact with the basis of nourishment, with nature, with things that are colorful and tasty, and getting out and seeing, you know, where food comes from. It's actually a really fun, tasty process.
Yeah.
So that's why we love it. We love bringing people along, bringing people to the farm,
breaking bread,
having feasts,
and having these difficult conversations over food.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing better than, you know, breaking bread and talking.
Yeah. Well, there's something so nice about going to a farm shop. You know, it's like if you make a day of it, I think it's changing the narrative around time and what's inconvenient for you.
Totally.
Because we look at, you know, supermarkets
or
and delivery.
Yeah.
And it's because it's that quick fix. But I drive an hour, you know, you do as well. But if you're with your kids and you go to the farm shop and you make it an experience, it's actually a really lovely thing to do.
Absolutely.
And spend your time doing.
Absolutely.
But I think,
and training them from young, you know, that's where you shop rather than going into a supermarket. That becomes part of their kind of natural process, you know, seeing the chickens, seeing the cows, seeing how cheese is made, seeing, you know, just those very, you know, basic, incredible moments that a child should be privy to. I think most children don't know where eggs come from. It's that basic.
Yeah.
So, and that's
so
sad.
Simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember hearing something a while ago that some kids knew more logos than they did plants, which is just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Or most children can't make the connection between milk and cheese, you know, or butter and milk, or just those, you know, basic, you know, food connections. So this is what we should be teaching in school. This is where, again, this knowledge gap has, you know, been so huge, is that we used to teach this in school.
Yeah.
You know, home ed, or those other, you know, home economics, all those, you know, we used to have cooking and all of those lovely classes that's been scrapped.
And we used to churn butter.
We used to churn butter, exactly. So yeah, we're all for bringing that back, and you know, we can do those things in you know, in a home education space. Cooking is such a big part of my children's day to day. Yeah, and it's just such a joy. Yeah, you know, just teaching them that actually to bake a cake rather than to go buy a cake is just. That process is just, there's nothing more magical for a child, you know.
No, it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's the best. And then you get to eat it. You just feel so proud of yourself.
A quick pause to tell you about one of our favourite partners, Exhale Coffee.
You know what I realised the other day? For years, I blamed caffeine for making me anxious, but it turns out it wasn't the caffeine at all. It was the toxins in the coffee itself. Coffee's actually one of the most pesticide-sprayed crops in the world, and it can be full of mould and mycotoxins, which explains the jittery, wired but tired feeling after your morning cup.
That makes so much sense. I switched to Excel recently, and honestly, I can tell the difference straight away. It's organic, independently lab tested, and completely free from mould, mycotoxins, pesticides, all the stuff you literally don't want to start your day with.
It's also the first coffee in the UK that's actually designed with your health in mind, packed with antioxidants and polyphenols, so you can get clean, calm energy instead of that crash.
Exactly. I feel focused, not frantic, like it gives you energy that actually feels good in your body.
If you love coffee, but you don't love how it sometimes makes you feel, this could genuinely change everything.
And the best bit? Excel are giving away free trial bags right now, and they even cover the shipping.
Just head to exhalecoffee.com/raise to claim yours. That's so true. Right, we're going to jump back into the book again. But we're really interested to talk about this topic because it really blew our minds. So in the book, you touch on seed sovereignty. Can you explain what's happening with corporate control over seeds and why it matters?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant question. So it turns out that the same handful of corporations, it's about only 4 or 5 corporations that dominate the agricultural chemical industry. So it's basically a monopoly. Antitrust laws aren't serving us there. So this cartel, let's say, of chemical companies who have a vested interest in getting farmers to buy as many of these chemicals as possible, it turns out it's the same companies that are patenting the seeds. So the idea of patenting a seed is already a bit absurd,
Bizarre.
Right? Because corporations do not invent seeds.
Yeah.
They haven't invented a single species. Mother Nature has invented every single species on Earth. It's taken her 3 billion plus years to create this incredible diversity of species and life forms that we have with us today on Earth. And we've created quite a weird legal framework that allows a corporation to go take a completely intact DNA sequence, change one thing that maybe shouldn't be changed, but they're either taking a gene out or putting a gene in, and then they get to claim that that's their intellectual property. So that idea already, I think, is, akin to insanity. But then the changes that they're making to these seeds are, again, connected to their interest in selling chemicals. So they're not necessarily making a plant that will grow stronger on its own. Most of the genetic engineering that we've done with seeds has been to make these plants resistant to the chemicals that we spray on them. So it's the patented seeds are, let's say, the central piece in a system designed to lock farmers into this chemically intensive way of doing agriculture. So you buy the seed and then you have to spray it with all this stuff because that's the only. So it's problematic on a number of levels. It's problematic because we're giving the power to corporations that don't necessarily have our best interests at heart, that are maximizing profit at all costs. It's problematic because I don't think that nature should be patented. And it's problematic because this is being imposed in places where that reduces the agro-biodiversity that people hold. So in Mexico is a wonderful case study because they've been fighting for a long time. What happens is if you bring in, let's say, Monsanto's patented corn seeds and these start cross-fertilizing, let's say one farmer plants these seeds here, the next season, some of that DNA will be in the corn in the next field because that's what nature loves to do, right? It mixes things around. So then Monsanto can come over to this farmer next door who never planted these seeds and say, hey, that's my intellectual property growing in your backyard. So it's an absurd situation.
It's psychopathic.
In a country like it is. And in a country like Mexico that has the crops of Mexico are a masterpiece, right? The pumpkins that they've produced, the corn that they've produced. Corn was the plant that became corn. It was called teosint. It was about the size of the tip of a thumb. And through thousands of years of genius breeding, they've turned it into the corn cob that we all know today. If you go to Mexico, you see it in every color of the rainbow, every texture, every flavor. This has been the basis of nourishment for empires and today the wonderful nation of Mexico. So this is what people love to do in this country. They love to grow corn, make tortillas of every color, and then you have corporations coming in wanting to change the laws and introduce these seeds that can completely take the rug under that whole culture, that whole delicious way of being and of eating. So fortunately, Mexico right now has a very strong leader in their president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who's pushing back. But it's usually very difficult for countries to push back because these corporations are enormous and they're bullies. Yeah. So this is, just a brief introduction to what's going on with seeds. But I think
that maybe needs a whole new book.
It maybe needs a whole new book.
I remember reading that page and I was like, wow, it was just, it really blew my mind. We spoke about it on the train, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Do you know what I love then, though, when you said about them being bullies? I love it because I feel like it's people like you who are fighting and standing up against the bullies. So I just want to say thank you both. Honestly.
Thank you. I think we've got our boxing gloves ready at all times.
We'll come and join you.
Yeah,
we've got your backs.
Do.
Yeah.
So for someone listening right now, I think we already kind of know the answer to this, but just to clarify, what's the best things that they can do that align with your manifesto? And how they kind of shop for food.
The call to action. Yeah. We talk a lot about the call to action and what, we can imprint on people and how we can impact people the most.
Yeah.
we touched on it, lightly before, but I think again, just, nourishing your communities and your families by, shopping in, your local farmers markets, getting to know, your farms, your farmers that are not owned by big ag and big corporations, independent farmers, small holdings, people that have given their whole entire lives to, looking after a piece of land and growing food for you. Those are the people, those kind of, grassroots, independent farms that we should be supporting. That is the call to action. And I think that's what we want to see more of. That's why we expanded the farm for Farmacy, because we've seen that can actually create the biggest impact. Growing your own food and then sharing that with community and then educating people with that.
I love that.
You?
Vote with your fork. Yeah, that's what we
Vote with your
say.
fork.
100%.
I'd say to add to that, so one is where you're getting your food, and the other is cook at home. Like if you buy packaged foods, it's going to be processed. It's very hard to know where the dozen or 2 dozen ingredients in that packaged food came from. But if you buy the vegetables and the food, the ingredients yourself, and cook at home, you have much more of that information and transparency, and it's also a beautiful practice that reconnects you back to nature and whoever you're cooking for. So yeah,
I love that.
We've got time to do a quick fire. Have you got 5 minutes for?
Absolutely.
Yeah, are you okay for that? I know you need to rush off.
No,
Okay, we'll just jump into some quick fire questions for the pair of you. So
it feels a bit basic sometimes.
No, but I quite like it. So
Basic's great.
No, it's great.
Get
From
to know
like
the
one thing to the
person.
next.
Yeah, but I really like that as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what is your morning drink of choice?
Oof, God, that's a tricky one. It varies season by season, but I'm just going to throw a really crazy one out. It's parsley juice.
Okay.
Just on its own parsley.
It's very good for the liver. It's
Just straight parsley?
Yeah, juiced parsley.
How much are you juicing? How much
A
parsley?
good bunch, a handful.
Like a shot? Or
yeah,
is it
it's about a shot, and then obviously you add water. So I do that. That's my moment. What I do in the morning.
And what are you getting from the parsley?
Liver health, all the phytochemicals it's very, very, very potent for the liver.
Okay.
Detoxifiant.
Yeah. It's a great detoxer. I also do shilajit in the morning. I mean, I don't know, you should come and see my kitchen.
I love hearing
we love hearing what people eat and drink.
I mean, next you need to come into people's homes and what's in the fridge. I think that's always fascinating.
Yeah. But that's one of our questions coming up. What's always in the fridge?
What's your drink?
Also, it rotates, but green tea. I'm
Matcha,
having a big
obviously.
tea year. Yeah, matcha, or if I can, and otherwise a green tea.
Okay. What's your favourite wellness habit?
Walking in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being on my own, not listening to music, not listening to anything, just listening to my own thoughts and walking meditations. Yeah, just being out in nature. I think that's super important.
Love that.
Deliberate, deep breathing.
Nice.
And again, I love that they're both free.
Yeah.
Free actually, guys.
Yeah.
A book that, apart from your own, a book that you would recommend everyone read.
The Alchemist.
Yeah.
My favorite book of all time. I think it's actually, I just got my daughter to read it. She's only 16, but it's something that I often recommend. It's beautifully philosophical, but then also just, it's a beautiful book.
One book.
I know.
She's a library.
Am I allowed to read? Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to throw out a few more
Just
niche
one.
ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh.
So for chefs, I think a beautiful book is Dan Barber's The Third Plate.
Yes,
It's a brilliant
brilliant.
book that
Nice.
he's making all these going and hanging out with the farmers, and you really, on the page, you can already feel how delicious the food is and how delicious the ecosystems are. And then another kind of geeky, really good book is called Dirt, The Erosion of Civilizations by David Montgomery, which is a brilliant story of the drama.
That's
of how,
2 books. You
how
said
soil. Yeah, I know. I'm already past my quota.
Who are your favourite people to follow on Instagram for inspiration?
Louis Blake.
I love Louis.
Shout out to Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I find him fascinating and interesting, and yeah, obviously he's a friend. But then I'd say the Zach Bushes of
Yeah.
the world, people who are, you know, speaking from a beautifully spiritual place, but also talking about very practical things like food and farming. You guys, who else? Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
But I mean, we follow mainly foodie accounts.
Yeah.
So yeah. You?
No
She
one.
hates Instagram.
Oh, do you? Well done.
Yeah.
I wish, yeah.
She's like, I don't even know any influencers.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Come on.
What's always in your fridge?
You.
Apart from parsley. What's always in your fridge, Camilla?
Like so much veg.
Well, yeah, you've got
straight
it there,
from the
haven't you?
straight from the garden. A lot of herbs. A lot of like veg prep, ready to go. Non-dairy milks, Pure Hatch milks. Yeah, those are the staples.
What non-dairy milks do you like? What would
I
you
like
drink?
Plenish and I like
Okay.
Rude Health.
Okay.
Yeah, so they don't use seed oils.
Yeah.
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 What about
You-
you, Aurora? What's always
Lots of
in-
vegetables, aged cheese,
Bone broth.
miso, the various kinds of miso, bone broth, of course. Yeah.
Nice. So what's your favourite vegetable? If you could only pick one.
Aubergine.
Oh,
Do you grow it on the
really?
Oh
farm?
my
We
goodness,
do.
I love
Yeah.
aubergine
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I could never pick one, but aubergine is one of my queens.
Yeah.
The miso
Absolutely
aubergine
queen.
is so
Oh.
good.
Yeah.
That used to be
Melanzana.
one of my faves.
It's my-
Oh, melons on it. Ode to aubergine.
I'm getting hungry. Yeah.
I know, 100%.
My tummy's grumbling.
And what are you both looking forward to or excited about in life?
Reopening the restaurant for me.
Yes.
Super exciting next year. So we've taken a sabbatical, a hiatus.
Do you
Yeah.
know when that will be? Like,
It
what
will
kind of
be
thing?
next spring, so May.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So not that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that long. Yeah.
Okay.
Exciting.
Yeah. There's not many places we can eat in London. So
Oh, I know.
I'm desperate to open up again. Yeah. And we've got our,
It means
very
we can
loyal
come
customers.
after the episode.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Where do you guys eat now? Is there anywhere you recommend eating? Once Long Lane's open and you guys are open, I'm like, sorted, aren't we?
Exactly.
Well,
Absolutely.
we actually love to go eat at those farms next to where we farm.
Yeah.
Well, Tablehurst is great
yeah.
because
Yeah,
you can
a
get a
good
good meal
soup.
from there.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can get-
Yeah.
And the little cafe at Pure Hatch, they have great pizza here.
Exactly. There's very few places, we have a kind of very loyal cult following customer base of people that are asking every single day when the restaurant's open because there's nowhere to eat in London. It's difficult.
Yeah.
There's very few restaurants with integrity, that are championing, good quality, organic, regenerative, in the best sense food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to that opening.
And
Me
Aurora,
too.
what are you excited about?
Oh, I'm excited to keep learning, keep digging deeper and researching and painting pictures and words,
Writing more books.
writing more books.
We look forward to it.
Yeah.
Guys, honestly, this has been amazing.
Oh,
and I'm
thank
sure
you.
people will take so much from it. So thank you
Yeah.
both for your time and your
It's been
wisdom.
a
Thank you.
delight. Thank you.
And where
Yeah.
can people find your book?
Ooh, anywhere you get
Waterstones.
your books.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay, amazing.
We've actually got the audiobook coming out as well next week.
Amazing.
So yeah, we'll send you the links
Yeah.
and everything else.
We'll
We'll be
share
sure
it.
to share. Yeah, guys, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys. Thank you.